Welcome to the Geek Easy. Sit back, grab a libation of your choice, and relax, 'cause it's time to do some geek stuff in the Geek Easy. Welcome to the Geek Easy, fellow geeks. Grab a beverage of your choice, because today is going to be, or this one's going to be a little painful. I'm going to be giving my thoughts on Gotham Knights episode 2, which aired Tuesday night. It is now the Wednesday after, and I had to spend some time trying to get my thoughts together on this show, shall we say. I did not like the first episode. And I was debating on whether I should just not watch anymore. Because if it was that bad for the first episode, there's only two options. It could get better, which I seriously doubted, or it could get worse. My money was on option 2. So, which was it? In my not so humble opinion, it was number 2. This episode, in an attempt to clear their names, you have Joker's daughter, the brother and sister, and Bruce Wayne's made-up adoptive son team together to attempt to break into Bruce Wayne's office. You know, the murder scene. To find... and the Robin that wasn't a Robin. An attempt to get a journal that Bruce/Batman had written on his exploits. Now, why he decided, well, you know, because he kept a journal of all his cases. You know, all the things he investigated. Now, why he kept this in his office, who knows? I mean, and why he wrote it out longhand, who knows? But they couldn't, you know, they had, for some convoluted reason that they explain in the show, which I don't really want to go into right now, they couldn't get into the Batcave because the police were showing the Batcave. And they confiscated everything from the Batcave. And the Batcave, you know, it's not so, it's not anything like the one in the comics. I mean, it is a big cave, it's huge, but there's no memorabilia in it. The computer that he has there is not much bigger than the one I'm using now to record this on. Which, I mean, come on, you've all seen the Batman computer. It's this monstrous thing that can do all sorts of stuff. And so the police had taken it. So these guys need to try and break into Bruce's office to get this diary that only the non-Robin knew about. So they're doing that, and they also have Talon, the member of the Court of Owls out there, who had the last episode, I don't know why I keep doing that, had decapitated one of the policemen who was in charge of taking the group into prison. So, I mean, and they're building the Court of Owls up to be the bad asses that they are in the comics. And then they proceed to destroy it a little later. I'll get into that in a minute. But, so, how are they going to get into Wayne Towers? They decide to get a Wayne security car. Now, all of a sudden, Wayne Enterprises has their own security thing with a bunch of cars all over the city. And because, the cops aren't going to search a Wayne security car going into a crime scene. Because the whole building is a crime scene, but they aren't going to check someone who's not a police member going into a crime scene. So they get one of these cars to go in there, and then there's this personal elevator that Bruce had that would go straight up to his penthouse, which any building manager would know, and the police should have shut that down. But that doesn't help the dumb plot they have. So they're like, okay, we need to sneak in. We need to get up there. It's in a hurry. We need to get up there. We need to get in and out before anyone finds us. And they get up there. Robin and the non-real son go up there while the other three are waiting down in the car, just sitting in the garage. And so they're making this big deal of getting in and out really quick, but then once they get the journal, she and him spend like 5 or 10 minutes having this conversation, going through the journal and having this conversation about what's in it. Just sticking around like, oh yeah, I thought you guys were in a hurry so you don't get caught. But you're just having this casual conversation that you could have anywhere else once you grab the stuff and get out. It's just mind-bogglingly stupid. So then you're also dealing with the police investigation with the DA, Harvey Dent, who is not Two-Face at this point, leading the investigation. He's not a cop. He's the district attorney, but he's working the case with the cops and questioning people. And so this cop that got beheaded in the last episode, they're looking for him. So they call him, and his phone rings, and there's a box. They open it up, and it's his head, because the Talon had decapitated him. So he mailed him, the police, his head. And so the guys are all worried, and so they call him. There's like 6 other boxes. So this guy's such a badass that he kills 6 cops and somehow manages to mail 6 boxes to the police department in a really short time. I mean, it sounds like it's just a few hours after the last episode ended. And yet there's all these things being distributed up to the police department. So they're making this Talon look like the badass that he's supposed to be. But when he shows up in the Gotham building to take on, of course, you know that's going to happen, to take on the two people in the office, he manages to get, he can't get into a locked door. That he shows up, they slam the office doors, lock it, and he can't get through. So he's sitting there trying to cut it with his sword while the other two guys are on the other side of the door. It's like, how incompetent is this guy? It's just, and the dialogue in certain parts of this thing is so cringy. They have I'm assuming this is the Gordon character, because it's not Gordon, but he's the person who got elected, because of his predecessor. I'm assuming that might have been Gordon, but one of his lines was, it starts out, comes on to him, and he's like, 7. So, I like numbers. You know what number? 7. You know what that is? 7 people have been killed. And he starts breaking the stuff down in numbers, and who talks like that? It's just, it was, the whole episode was unbelievably painful. And of course they're throwing in these songs that they do on some of the teenage shows, like you did, back in the 90s. That have something tangentially to do with what's going on in the scene. Like the teenage dramas stuff. And it's just, I didn't think it could get any worse, but it did. Worse than the first one. The only thing that they got right in this is some of the establishing shots really were kind of good. To, like, if you go with the old Batman the Animated Series, where they have this, of course they can't have the city looking like it did in the movie, in the animated series, but they have all the helicopters up there, and they have the Gotham Police Department blimps up there, and it's kind of dark and moody, and that is kind of well done. That's the only good part about the show. These actors can't act. The decisions these people make are incredibly dumb. The writing is awful. And I think these guys, are trying to, outdo themselves on Batgirl. And if they are, that's what they're trying, they're succeeding. They are doing something worse than Batgirl. Or Batwoman, or whatever that show was. But anyway, the last episode I gave a 0.52. I'm going to give this a 0.4. Because it was bad. And I'm trying to figure out whether the show will even last the whole season. But way to go, people. Way to go, CW. You're setting a record. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think. If you've been watching the show, like, subscribe, and most of all, try and enjoy your comic shows.